Swipe, 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 swipe. Just picked up some bands, come again. They do what I do, I'm like Simon says. Yeah, I'm the running man, rapping rubber bands. They do what I do, I'm like Simon says. They do what I do, I'm like Simon says. Swerving, making plays, put Ferrari red. Never out my zone, touchdown in my hands. Only fam around me, I can't have no friends. Had to cut you off, you left me out for dead. Ever since I was a teen, had prices on my head. Had to cut you off, you left me out for dead. They do what I do, I'm like Simon says. Just picked up some bands, come again. They do what I do, I'm like Simon says. Yeah, I'm the running man, rapping rubber bands. They do what I do, I'm like Simon says. Just picked up some bands, come again. They do what I do, I'm like Simon says. Yeah, I'm the running man, rapping rubber bands. They do what I do, I'm like Simon says. Yeah, ballpoint on the beat, ballpoint make them dance. Yeah, we came up from nothing, now we're making plans. Yeah, just picked up some bands, Tell her, ask it questions when I come again. On the run like a runaway. Only way is the money way. New chain, no jewelry. No games, don't fool me. 21, been a boss. Play the game, pay the cost. Heard you rolling TikTok. Need to get another watch. Just picked up some bands, come again. They do what I do, I'm like Simon says. Yeah, I'm the running man, rapping rubber bands. They do what I do, I'm like Simon says. Just picked up some bands, come again. They do what I do, I'm like Simon says. Yeah, I'm the running man, rapping rubber bands. They do what I do, I'm like Simon says.
Hey guys, shout out to everyone on the chat and those in the bushes. I don't think I see anybody on the chat. So I'm trying something a little bit different today. I'm actually on my mobile device. I'm live. And the reason why I came live, I wasn't planning to quite yet, but then I saw this email that I got from the Melissa Lucio Campaign Action Network. Okay. So I had posted something on the community wall about the execution kind of nearing for Melissa Lucio, who has been sitting for about 13 years on death row, okay, for the death of her 2-year-old child, okay? She's accused of killing her child, all right? And it was said to have been the most brutal child abuse case that at that time the coroner's office had seen, okay? So I was just doing the research. Now, mind you, I felt some type of way because she was set to be executed on the 27th, which is Wednesday. So I'm like, well, I felt some type of way because I'm like, am I coming to this a little too late? Like, what can I contribute or what can I, look into? And I wanted to look at things both sides because there is a Hulu documentary out there that I have not watched, and I have not watched it for intentionally. And let me tell you why. I want to look at court stuff before I look at documentaries because I think that it'll give us a bigger picture. Now, whether you're for or against the death penalty, that's not really the case here. The case is this. If there is evidence out there, all right, if there's evidence out there that shows that you're innocent, okay, shouldn't you have a retrial? Shouldn't people review that evidence? Shouldn't the court be fair that way? Like, why are we letting people be executed for no, for because you've been sitting there and you've been accused? Was it enough to say that they met, there was reasonable doubt, the burden of proof, all this other stuff that we tend to say, right? Was there enough for her to be convicted? That's really what the case is right now. And I'm going back and forth. There's very little YouTube channels that are covering this case. I don't know the ins and outs of everything. I'm barely looking at it now, so I cannot answer every question. The gist and what I know so far is this, is that Melissa's been sitting on death row for 13 years in the state of Texas, okay? All appeals have been exhausted. As of today, she was granted a stay of execution, all right? So hopefully the criminal trial will, she'll have that opportunity to review new evidence, okay, which is what needs to happen if there is reasonable doubt, if there is, the burden of proof had not been met, if that makes sense, okay? So we need to be able to assist that way, right? We need to be able to, show both sides of the coin. Now, what I saw thus far, what I know so far is that she's a mother of 14 children. At the time that her young daughter Mariah died, she was pregnant with twins. Okay. Yes, she has a lot of children. She had a very traumatic past and upbringing, and that we can look into as well. The Hulu documentary does look into that as well. How that contributes to the death of her child is interesting, I think, and we can look into that as well. I'm just trying to figure out, like, without going into the documentary yet, because I said, we have to be very careful when we look at that, more so looking at the court stuff. I saw some CPS reports, and I saw some what the what is it called? The appeal was what it was listing and saying. So there's just different areas to look at this, right? There's also the accusation that one of the daughters might have hurt Mariah, might have, her hurting the child led to the death of this child. So that's another avenue to kind of look into as well, because they were from different fathers, I believe. So it's a really sad case, and that's why I hesitated. But I'm like, am I coming to this a little too late? Let me look at the chat real quick, and I'll read you guys the email that I got from the Action Network, okay? Because it was a little bit of a breaking story. I did not expect them to just say, you know what, we're gonna give her a stay of execution, especially in the state of Texas, because you guys know how heavy the executions are over there in that state. Between that Texas and Florida, two different states that they do things a little bit different. So shout out to everyone in the chat. Let me say I have Jennifer here, Willie, Daisy. I am on a mobile device, so I can't really see everything that's going on. Let me see if I can log into a different device as well and see if I see something different. 1 second. Okay, cool. So let me see. I'll tell you guys the email that I got. So I got an email that said, basically, breaking news that the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals has just issued a stay of execution for Melissa Lucio and ordered the 138th Judicial District Court of Cameron County to consider new evidence of her innocence in the death of her daughter, Mariah. Melissa Lucio's statement: I thank God for my life. I have always trusted in him. I am grateful the court has given me the chance to live and prove my innocence. Mariah is in my heart today and always. I'm grateful to have more days to be a mother to my children and a grandmother to my grandchildren. I will use my time to help bring them to Christ. I'm deeply grateful to everyone who prayed for me and spoke out on my behalf. And she gave this statement. Today's the 25th? That would have been today. Yep, today. So the news came out today, and it's probably buzzing everywhere, at least the people that are looking into the death penalty stuff. From myself and everyone at the Death Penalty Action, okay, there's a hashtag right now that's Free Melissa Lucio, okay? They gave a little hats off to the Innocence Project, which is a phenomenal, organization, nonprofit. You guys got to check their websites out because they always do just different things to help those that they feel are wrongfully convicted, right? And I say they because, unless I know for a fact I have to look at stuff, right, before I can co-sign anything. Jennifer says, I actually saw the Hulu documentary called The State of Texas versus Melissa yesterday, and viewer discretion is advised. They do some of the autopsy photos on Mariah. Yeah, I heard about that. That's why I'm like, oh my God, I don't know if I can see that, because like I said, I get very triggered about stuff like that. That it kind of off the back shows you some pretty graphic photos of baby Mariah. But that it's kind of like a necessary thing for people to understand, the depth of her injuries and if they make sense to the child's, death. And also like the time frame. There's another YouTuber, and I'm not going to say her name because I watched her she basically said that there were things that the documentary didn't say. So obviously I want to know, what is it that the documentary didn't cover? I have not watched the documentary, okay? But I definitely feel like you can't just sway one way or another. You got to show it all. So if there's things that the documentary did not necessarily talk about or say, there was one thing they said about the child's injury was that there was pinching in the vaginal area that was not talked about too in depth in the documentary. They didn't talk about all of the, I guess, Melissa had some violent streaks in prison, which, quite honestly, when she said that, I was like, well, shit, you're in jail. Like, who's not going to be violent? And you're in death row and you're in Texas. Who is not going to be violent and defend themselves with that dynamic? Obviously, I would not put it past her. So when she said that, I said, that's a little bit too biased. You got to see the other side of that too. She the person that was giving her commentary said she felt that the that this was something that was well deserving of Melissa. I don't know if I necessarily believe that. Like I said, child abuse is not necessarily, you know, there's different forms of it, right? So her having 14 children, okay, or 12 at the time, was she the best mother? Did she take care of them? What was the environment? What was Melissa's environment as well? That's another factor you have to consider. You can't just go by, well, it's black and white. My growing up was this way, therefore your growing up should be this way. People's lives take different directions. There's a saying of you are a product of your environment. Yeah, I mean, that could very well be the case, but then you also are the opportunity to come out of that is well, in its place. So it's not always the case that you are the product of your environment. You have to be able to look at the court docs and kind of weigh things up. And let me see, I'm on my phone, guys, so I'm going to try to click these comments as I go. Welcome, Willie, Daisy. Shout out to our members, guys. Fun to be blonde, our mod. Shout out to you. I came in a little early because, it's not about my schedule. It's about baby girl's schedule. Laurel, yes. Yeah. You know what? Isn't this? Yeah, I would have to agree. They typically don't stop executions. I seriously did not think that they were going to stop it. And that's why I felt some type of way about talking about this case because I said, well, it's going to take me a couple of days to even look into it. And by the time there, I mean, she was set to be executed on Wednesday, the 27th. And what was crazy is that I could have reported on it before, but honestly, like the topic is very heavy, and I need to make sure that I have an audience that really is willing to understand, understand a little bit, and willing to, you know, willing to listen, right? Because I think that it's triggering when you hear anything about child death, child abuse, and all that. It's a hard thing to kind of swallow. So I'm very leery about who's my audience and who's willing to listen to this type of material in case. For me, I love doing stuff like this because I think it's also a piece of advocacy work that I get to bring and, just talking to you guys about it and giving a different perspective. I'm not opposed to talking about it, even look into it now that we have a stay of execution, right? So they made it happen. If we need to look into it, we definitely can. I'll see what I can pull. I'll see who I can talk to. Maybe see if we can interview a family member. I reached out to another YouTube channel that had interviewed some of the family members. And I would be willing to do that as well. But I wanted to hear from you guys before I go that route and see how you guys feel about it. And if you're willing to share it. Yeah. Hey, DK, shout out to you. Welcome. I'm on my mobile device, guys, so I do apologize. I can't see all the comments, but I'll try my best. Stacy's in the house. Shout out to you. Jennifer, I agree. I'm also not going to look into the court documents as well because I also like to look at both sides of the story before coming to a conclusion. Absolutely. You have to be able to look at both sides of the story. I could tell you something, though. One thing that was said, and I'm not surprised, is that CPS was constantly at the house. Yeah. They lived in a 2-bedroom or 1-bedroom apartment, okay? With 9 people total in there. So, yeah, I completely understand the conditions were not the best, but they were the conditions. Sometimes, and I think that's the thing is like, yeah, it's cluttered, right? Like there's a lot of people, but does that mean that requires a child protection issue? Does that mean that children are going to be neglected if they don't live in a 5-bedroom house? No, it does not. You can live in a 2-bedroom house with 10 people in there. People do it all the time. Okay, harsh times, harsh times. But does that mean that it requires a CPS involvement? Not necessarily. That's the other thing too, is sometimes we have to let go of our biases as far as what we feel like our family life needs to be or mirror somebody else's when they haven't been provided maybe the same amenities or life experiences that we've had. It's just something to think about. So when I was watching that other YouTuber, I felt some type of way about how she was reviewing this case. I appreciate that she's talking about the things that the documentary doesn't tell you, because we do need to know that, right? But what I don't like is this idea that we have to compare, or that if you didn't go to a private school, that means that you were neglected as a child. Like, I just can't wrap my head around this tit for tat stuff. Yeah, I gotta work around her. You know what? That's how it is. Shout out to you, the JNL Chronicles. Welcome to our chat. Yes, yes, welcome, welcome. I want to see the documentary, but it sounds very hard to watch. I heard that I'm gonna watch it, I promise, but I don't want to watch it until I've seen what I need to read, right? So, like, a lot of the court stuff is public record now. Like, you could probably Google it and read it. I rather read that. I know I could tell you that when I watched what is it, Gabriel Hernandez, the trial of Gabriel Hernandez. Oh my God, I could not watch the whole thing. I really could not watch it. Yeah, and even now I just can't, because it was just so horrific, the things that they were talking about and what was done to that poor baby. The ability to stop, and it just, I even now thinking about it, I just kind of cringe. I can't watch that. But I might watch this one. I might skip through any of the photos. Like I said, I can't watch stuff like that. I'm a little traumatized by what I've seen, so I don't want to go into that. Yes, welcome to our chat. Bella's World, welcome, welcome. The numerous CPS calls did get my attention, since they were living in the dire conditions, as well as also being homeless at one point. Right. I heard that at one point she was sleeping in the park with her kids, that they were homeless. Okay. I heard about that as well. I mean, they've had a pretty rough life. I think all of them have overall. Had me crying. Yeah. Yeah, that documentary was rough to watch. Honestly, was not at all the thing that I wanted to see. But anyways, I wanted to bring to you guys this little breaking news stuff, and I need to fix my video a little bit more, because I'm on my mobile device. I'm very limited to what I can or can't do. I was not planning to be here long, just because I wanted to just test the mobile device, but also talk about this email that I got. That being said, though, I guess now, um, with the breaking news that the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals has just issued a stay of execution for Melissa Lucio, and ordered the 138th Judicial District Court of Cameron County, I think that's what they meant to say, not country, to consider new evidence in her innocence in the death of her daughter. So whatever they have, new evidence-wise, must be very compelling. But anyways, all right. Fun to be Blonde says, same, I'd rather read the case and maybe watch the documentary. It's very difficult case, very triggering, but would love to hear your perspective. Thank you. True. For some, 9 in a two bedroom, and yeah, 2 bedroom is an improvement. People sometimes do not get into a good school district as long as the kids are being taken care of. It's not neglect. That's right. Yeah. So we do a lot of comparisons. Well, you know, they ate rice and beans every day, where you might have eaten, I don't know, steak or something different. Don't make comparisons about your upbringing versus someone else's to say that they have been neglected, or that they were, not given something. We have to understand that when we do things like that, we will deem people to be something that they're not, and that's not okay. And believe it or not, I mean, I grew up in poverty. A lot of us, I know a lot of people that did, and I wouldn't know the difference. I really wouldn't know the difference unless somebody told me. That's the thing. It's like sometimes you don't even know it. But hey, it is what it is. But anyways, I wanted to shout everyone out and come in here and read some stuff and see how you guys were doing. Jennifer says, I honestly had to pause several times. Yeah, that Gabriel Hernandez doc. I was so angry. Yeah, I was pretty angry too. Um, yeah, I didn't like at all. I was very, very angry at that whole thing. That whole case had me in tears. Yeah, I was Gabriel and stayed with. You mean you wish that Gabriel had stayed with his uncles? Me too. Me too. And it's crazy that we still remember that piece, even though it's been a couple of years since I watched it. Yeah. Well, anyways, guys, just coming out here, I was testing, excuse me, the mobile device to see how it worked. I did not have anything prepared or anything. I was just kind of coming up. I saw that the breaking news in the email, and I said, let me see. And like I said, I was going back and forth. If it's something that you guys want me to cover, let me know. I did put that up there in my community tab, and we can look at different cases, or excuse me, the breakdown of this case, and what those documents say, even the CPS reports, if they're available to the public, which I don't know if they are. I could reach out to a family member and see if they're willing to talk. That would be awesome, I think, and see kind of where they stand. But anyways, guys, I will let you guys go. I hope you guys have a great rest of your afternoon. Yes. Shout out to you guys. Thank you for joining us. Bye, guys.